saw Florida benefit from that window this past year in getting Ricky Pearsall after spring practice. And as we've already discussed on the show, he has made his decision to return for 2023. And after getting an invite to the combine, putting up some really good numbers, he's decided to return to Florida. And I think one thing that probably factored into that decision was the news that you reported on Thursday, Nick.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall, he's one of about, I think, 19 athletes that are going to be announced as the week goes on that will sign with the Gator Collective. And listen, when we were talking and I think I said I was trying to weigh out pros and cons, and I had a really long thing on our message board weighing out pros and cons, and I just didn't think it made sense for Ricky to come back other than NIL. And the Gator Collective doesn't disclose their contract numbers with their athletes, but let's say this: if you were a 5th round pick, top of the 5th round, I think the signing bonus was like $200,000. I don't know if Ricky Pearsall is going to be getting a $200,000 contract this year, but what comes along with being a 5th round pick is no job security and none of that contract being guaranteed. And if you get cut in training camp, boom, you're on the unemployment line and you're not getting paid by the team that drafted you. I can guarantee you with 1,000,000% certainty that Billy Napier is not cutting Ricky Pearsall. So you come back to campus, you're 1,000,000%. I'll put the deed to my house on it. He's not cutting Ricky Pearsall. No fear of that. You're the big man on campus. You're going to do some cool stuff with the Gator Collective, some cool stuff he's already posted. He's done some cool stuff with Fast FLA, helping here at the Ron McDonald House and helping out at some other food shelters, homeless shelters and food banks here in Gainesville. So I think you're going to start seeing, and I put in that story, you're already starting to see either guys who have played 4 years but had a year left, or guys who were true undergrads. You're seeing the number of them decrease in leaving early for the NFL. And I think NIL is going to make the college football game better because you're going to get guys staying around longer. Hey, I'm a fringe top 3 pick or top 3 round pick. I might follow the 4th or the 5th. What if I come back another year and I'm not losing money because I can make money through NIL and then maybe get into a better position for myself the next year with the draft.
Think about Osiris Torrance. I mean,
yeah,
man, what a benefit that he provided for himself by making this jump through the portal and turning himself into a 1st round pick, which he would not have been coming out of Louisiana. Even though he had the talent, he hadn't dominated the SEC yet like he did this past year. So I think for Ricky too, I thought the decision was interesting and would be influenced by the fact that the Gators lost Anthony Richardson and there's not a clear cut
the ball.
Yeah, and I thought that might factor into it. But at the same time, I think for his standpoint, he knows that he's going to be that go-to target. Even more so with Justin Shorter, moving on. So it's basically him and X. They obviously have a full receiver room, but those are going to be the top starters. And I think now too, you got to remember Ricky missed, I don't know how much time it was in training camp, but it was a good portion. And then
most of it. I mean, he got hurt week 1, like second day in pads. So 1 week into training camp, missed it.
And I would imagine when he came back, even though he played, I think, in the season opener, he was not, even if he had gotten back to 100%, he wasn't himself yet and certainly wasn't comfortable in the offense, didn't know everything. And this staff, just getting him for fall training camp, didn't know a lot about him, didn't know exactly his strengths, weaknesses, how to use him. They certainly had evaluated him on film, but until you really get him in practice. So I think as the season went on, and certainly he kind of found his groove and the staff figured out how to use him, that whole process is not going to be there in 2023. You're going to go into the spring now. You get to have a full offseason with him, kind of build the offense around him. And, he was a guy that caught, I think, what he finished with was 30-something passes. I mean, he could end up with 50-plus this coming fall and really boost his numbers. And I think everybody would like to see him get a few more jet sweeps and get involved in the run game more. I mean, he had a 76-yard touchdown, and then we didn't really see. He got like 2 carries the rest of the season. So I think from that standpoint, he figures that there's definitely some benefit to him coming back.
I mean, it took how many weeks for Chris Couch to be like, "Hey, this guy might be able to return some punts." So yeah, I think there's a. He is. If you would have lost what you did, and then Ricky Pearsall, one player, especially a slot receiver, shouldn't affect my perception of a team so much, but it does. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe that's just the kind of impact that Ricky Pearsall has coming back.
And that's also it speaks to Florida's lack of proven players at the slot position. If you had a ton of depth there, and I think that Eugene Wilson's going to be a stud, and you got a few players that could plug in there, but Pearsall's.
I don't even know that you have a few. I don't even know that you have a few. I think it's just Ty Bowman and Eugene Wilson, and Wilson won't be here until summer.
Yeah, I think you could potentially find a way to utilize Mizell some just with his speed, but he seems like more of a burner on the outside. But regardless, he's got to put on weight. So, and with Wilson, you don't have him until fall camp. So he's kind of in the same boat as Pearsall was last year. Yeah. You needed to be able to build your offense around him and have Mertz, Miller, whoever it is, know that that's a safety valve that they can go to. Yeah. Well, one guy that won't be part of that quarterback room is Jayden Rashada. By now this is old news. You guys don't want to hear about it. We don't really want to talk about it, but do want to at least acknowledge the fact that Nick put in a ton of work this past week. As we were last time that we visited with you all, we were waiting on this release to officially happen, and then the following day it did. And then Nick spent the weekend working the phones and finishing up what went wrong here, which was what we had been getting so many requests from fans, from readers. Hey, let us know exactly what you can. And as we kind of transition from the news of Ricky Pearsall signing the deal with Gator Collective, we all know that they've been really dragged through the mud here and kind of made as the public scapegoat, can't really comment on the situation. But I think as more details have come out from Nick's reporting, it's clear that all the fingers should not be directed at them. And I think there's a lot of blame to go around, and there were no winners in this. And it's an unfortunate situation, just at overall. But this is not something that I think, for Gator Collective, having done almost 150 deals, this is the first one that went south. And I can't imagine that they're going to find themselves in another situation like this, given what they went through with this experience.